Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the S&S Football Podcast. My name is Morgan, and we are officially back. It has been a very, very long time, since this channel has uploaded or anything, but we are here to say that content is going to be coming out. I'm going to soldier on and release content. Unlucky for us, Braden isn't here, unfortunately. He is too busy to be here. But we hope you enjoy the show. Hopefully, Braden can come on again soon. And hopefully, at some point as well, we can get Lewis back on and a few of the others that were regulars when we were uploading before. Well, where have we been? It's been an awful long time since this channel last uploaded. As we've said, it's been about 5 to 6 months since the summer, actually, and an awful lot has happened in the Premier League. This transfer window has been an absolutely crazy one. The summer was crazy as well. We had the Ronaldo and Sancho saga. We had plenty of other sagas as well. That it was just a mad transfer window, really. And this one has followed on by no means any worse, because if anything, the madness of this transfer window has been absolutely insane. We've got a comment in already. Is Braden here? Braden is not here today. Braden is busy. So it is me for today. I am doing the content at the moment for the foreseeable future until Braden returns. But let's have a talk about transfers. Down below, we've got most of the transfers that have happened in this January transfer window. I want you to comment down below. What is the best January transfer of this window? There has been plenty. But which one? Which one is the number one signing and why? I want to know down below. I want to know who it is and why. Why is that player so key and so vital to the second half of their season? Now, January is commonly a place that transfers aren't really that obtainable. It's difficult to get players in January. Teams end up upping the fees massively to avoid their players getting nicked halfway through a season. But if we look down below, Digne to my boys, Villa, even Diallo to Rangers, I think is a fantastic bit of business for Rangers for the second half of the season to kick on in the SPL. Bruno Guimaraes, though, I've probably butchered his name from Leon, but Bruno Guimaraes signing for Newcastle United and Luis Diaz as well to Liverpool. Two absolutely massive signings, absolutely huge signings in this window. But we can't forget about our boy, Felipe Coutinho, who has joined Aston Villa only on loan, but there is an option of a 33 million. There's an option of 33 million to buy him for if the loan goes well. So it is with an obligation to buy. Trippier to Newcastle as well is also a very good transfer. It seems to me that Villa and Newcastle have really done the business in this window. And if there's two teams that have had the best January transfer window, in my humble opinion, it probably is Aston Villa or Newcastle. But why? Why have Aston Villa and Newcastle had the best transfer windows? Look, you guys have got to decide, but why have they? What is it that is so special about the players they've signed? Newcastle obviously are looking to avoid the drop zone. It's been a very difficult season for them, obviously starting off with Steve Bruce. Now they've got Eddie Howe. Results are starting to pick up, though. They've picked up a couple of wins in their last games, and all of a sudden, what looked like a destined relegation side with a couple of new signings here and there, they could end up surviving. This could be the most dramatic Premier League survival in history. You've got Burnley with so many games in hand. Norwich have started picking up results under Dean Smith. Newcastle have started picking up results now and are signing decent players. Watford have just got Roy Hodgson in. It's going to be a really exciting battle down the bottom of that Premier League. But like I said, who has had the best can't even get my words out. January transfer window in the Premier League, and why? And again, that question I went back to: who else has been the number one signing of this transfer window, and why? But we're going to talk things Premier League. Look, there's not been an upload on this channel for a very, very long time. And I appreciate the fact that, you know, it's going to be difficult to try and engage back with you guys. We 100% understand that. However, look, the Premier League has been very, very interesting this season. We've got a real race for a top four, and we've got a real race for a bottom three. It's going to be a fantastic end to the season, no doubt. You know, Man City aren't even, you know, everyone was writing off Liverpool, Chelsea. Liverpool are only 6 points behind City if they win their game in hand, and they've still got to play them again this season. So, look, there's going to be major implications at the top end of the table and the bottom end of the table towards the end of this season. Who's going to make top four? Is Ralph Rangnick going to get United a top four place against all odds? Are Man City going to lift their sixth Premier League title in the next 7 years? Are Chelsea just going to get back to some kind of form, because they seem to have fallen off an absolute cliff since the start of the season, as they started this route season so positively under Thomas Tuchel? And are Liverpool going to push Man City like they did a couple of seasons ago to a real high mark again of winning the Premier League? And who's going to go down? Who is going to get relegated? As I've mentioned before, the clubs at the bottom are starting to get results. It's quite interesting, really, because I spoke to a couple of my friends last week and said, I think this is going to be the lowest Premier League total ever to stay up, because we've got three horrendous teams in the league in Norwich, Newcastle and Watford. Because at that point, you know, Burnley had a lot of games in hand and they were outside the bottom three. And then all of a sudden, Burnley have been drew into it by how many games have been cancelled through COVID. And all of a sudden, Norwich and Newcastle have started picking up results. And if I'm a Watford fan, are you worried? Are you worried at this point? Because Roy Hodgson has not really got a transfer window to bring in players. They bought players for Ranieri, and it's even questionable whether those players were actually bought in for Ranieri's system. So, in a way, Watford are in a real tough position, because they're in that bottom three now. Norwich have managed to find their way out of it. I personally think that it's going to be between Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley for me. I do think that Watford will go down. I don't think their squad is good enough. I think Roy Hodgson is a great manager, but to do a job that he's got to do in such a short space of time, I personally think is just way too out of the realms of possibility. I hope he proves me wrong, because I'd love to see Watford stay in the Premier League, but ultimately their key players aren't firing. You know, they bought Josh King for a lot of money and he hasn't scored in a while. Moussa Sissoko's been so poor this season. Tom Cleverley hasn't played well this season. Will Troost-Ekong has had so many mistakes in him this season. They've ended up having to buy defenders galore to fix that back four. Craig Cathcart playing in 2022 is beyond me. Watford are in real trouble of getting relegated this season. And can Roy Hodgson keep them up against all odds? Can Roy Hodgson keep them in the Premier League? But I want to take a moment to talk about a few managerial positions that have been taken throughout the season. Norwich, Watford, Villa, Man United, Everton, all sacking managers this season. If there's anyone else that I've forgot as well, put it in the comments below. But as far as I'm aware, they are the ones. There is a very, very, very concerning factor coming into management these days, and that is that longevity in football is a very rare trait. For any manager to keep their job now, the club, the fans and the owners really have to trust that manager, because you only have to look at Dean Smith at Aston Villa. Now, I went to two of Dean Smith's games this season, 2 home games. I went to Everton where we won 3-0 and I went to West Ham where we lost 4-1. Now, when I went to the Everton game, we were struggling a little bit, but we just needed one big win to boost us, to really propel us into our season. We bought a lot of players, obviously sold Jack Grealish. I got that on horribly wrong. I'll take that on the chin. Yeah, the video's out there. I thought Grealish was staying, but he left. We got the money for him. And I think we've invested it really, really well, looking at the players that we've now brought in and the squad that we've now assembled. It's very much well balanced now. But Dean Smith had, when I went to that Everton game, absolutely no way did I think in 2 months' time we would be having Steven Gerrard as our manager from Rangers. And the whole season would derail and we'd lose 5 games on the bounce. And it just wasn't, I just couldn't see it. We had a really great win against Everton, beat Everton. We spoke to Everton fans outside the ground. They thought they were unlucky to lose 3-0. But look, Aston Villa, it propelled our season. And then all of a sudden, I remember going up to the Villa West Ham game, and I've got to admit, it was one of the worst games of football I have ever seen. And I said to people coming out the ground, I said, Dean Smith is gone. He has to go. Unfortunately, results aren't good enough. We're slumping lower and lower towards that bottom 3. And with the money we've spent and the prestige of squad we've got, we are massively underperforming. And our club made a brutal decision, an absolutely brutal decision, and sacked Dean Smith, who got us promoted to the Premier League, kept us in the Premier League against all odds. It's a tough situation because with a lot of these managerial sackings, you do have to question whether it's the right thing to do. Was it the right thing to sack Claudio Ranieri at Watford? That remains to be seen. Was it right to sack Daniel Farke at Norwich? Yes, because Dean Smith has picked up the results. They actually look like they could stay up somehow. Was it right for Newcastle to get rid of Steve Bruce? Yes, the results have picked up. Yes, they haven't been great, but they're still getting points. And Eddie, I would far more trust Eddie Howe and Roy Hodgson with my club than Steve Bruce and Daniel Farke. Did Ollie deserve to get sacked? Man United fans, did he deserve to get sacked? Listen, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was... We spoke about him on the channel with Braden an awful lot. He wasn't the greatest of tactical managers, but he was a good man manager. Look at what's happened at Man United since he's gone. Ronaldo, Fernandes, players that were playing for Ollie seem to have down tools a bit. Is there unrest in the dressing room like it's being reported? And look, on the subject of Manchester United, I think it would be beneficial to just briefly talk about, I don't want to talk about it a lot, but the news that has been released today. To protect us as a channel, we are only speculating this, and it is rumour, and we do stand by that until proven guilty. But Mason Greenwood and all the stuff regarding domestic abuse and the allegations that have been made against Mason Greenwood, yeah, an absolute shock to football, really. Look, it's out there. People are fully aware of the situation, but we really don't like to see things like this happen in football. A really talented England youngster, one for the future, has potentially ruined his career and ruined such a talent that he had. Mason Greenwood was a massive part of Manchester United this season. Yes, he hasn't always hit the heights that people have wanted him to, but he's still a phenomenal footballer. And for him to do that and potentially do that and let himself down for the rest of his career, it's a real shame. From the alleged England incidents with Phil Foden, allegedly, to now this allegations against Mason Greenwood, it does look like his Manchester United career is coming to an end, which would be a real shame for United because he's a homegrown talent. But we don't condemn any form of abuse, and we would like to outline that straight away. under that matter. But moving on from that matter, yeah, were Manchester United right to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Was that the right decision at the time? You know, people have questioned Ralf Rangnick coming into the job. Ralf Rangnick obviously was at Lokomotiv Moscow, wasn't really doing that great, but he's come over to England in this interim to then go as a sporting director role. But I think there's a bit of confusion, really, because some Man United fans seem to think that Ralf is actually going to stay on past this interim, and he'll go upstairs once they find the right replacement. But it seems as though that this replacement is meant to be for the summer. Manchester United fans, who do you want? Who do you want in the summer? Who do you want in the summer, Manchester United fans? Do you want Mauricio Pochettino in charge of your club? Would you like Zidane? Who is out there that is going to take that Manchester United job? Because it's a very big job. There's a lot of players there, and there is a massive disconnect between a lot of them. And we've seen that in performances this season. You know, you only have to look at the Manchester United versus Aston Villa game a couple of weeks ago. Man United 2-0 up should never be throwing away a game like that. But just so disjointed at the back. And, you know, Villa probably should have won the game, let alone get a point. So Manchester United fans, what are you thinking about this season? You know, can you push on and cement your place in that top four? Because the Premier League table is looking quite interesting as we speak. West Ham only a point behind. Have played a game more, though, but are only a point behind. Arsenal with 2 games in hand and only 2 points behind. And, no, 1 game in hand, sorry, and 2 points behind. Tottenham, 2 games in hand and, again, only 2 points behind. So if the teams behind them win their games in hand, in my opinion, look, it is better to have points on the board. But if Tottenham and Arsenal pick up results in their next couple of games in hand, Man United all of a sudden slump out of that top 4. Who is going to make the top 4 this season? Will it be the top 4 now? Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester United that I'm pretty sure everyone predicted this season? Or will West Ham sneak in there under David Moyes? They have lost their last 2, but we have to remember that West Ham have been phenomenal this season. Are Tottenham going to sneak in there under Antonio Conte? Is his revival going to be to get them Champions League football in his first season? Are Arsenal under Mikel Arteta going to shock everyone like they are doing this season and making a push for top 4? Because I think I'll be the first person to admit, when I looked at Arsenal's summer business, I was really confused because they spent an awful lot of money. They actually spent the most in the Premier League, with over 120 million in net spend. But they've bought a lot of good players and they're assembling a really good young squad that in the next 2 or 3 years could be a real European force. I like Lokonga. I think Aaron Ramsdale, fantastic signing from Sheffield United. I was the first one to say that I can't believe who's doing these transfers, selling Emi Martinez for us for 20 million and then buying Ramsdale for 30. But Ramsdale has been phenomenal this season, and I'd probably put my hands up and say he's been the signing of the year, of the transfer window out of the summer and the winter, because his effect on Arsenal has been monumental. You know, the goalkeeper issue at Arsenal last season was very, very clear. Leno was giving away a lot of points as well as that defence, and Ramsdale with his distribution, I've been so impressed with his distribution at the back this season. Aaron Ramsdale, I think he's massive to Arteta's philosophy, especially when Arteta wants to play a very Man City style of building up from the first and the second thirds to move into the last third or the final third really quickly. But Arsenal fans, are you happy with the 120 million that you spent back in the summer? Looking at January, because you haven't bought anyone in, but you have sold a few players and you are looking to offload a few. Obviously, Aubameyang, there are rumours currently, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but Barcelona seem to be heavily interested. They've given Callum Chambers to my club, Aston Villa. But yeah, it's a fantastic time to be an Arsenal fan, in my opinion. A really exciting time. Yes, there is inconsistencies. You're going to get that with young players. Of course, there's going to be inconsistencies with you. They're young players at Arsenal. They're building a really young squad, but on the times that I've seen them this season, they have been very impressive to watch, and I can really start to see Arteta's philosophy now. And I do think that Arsenal fans need to be really patient with Arteta, because I think the philosophy's there to see. He just needs to develop these players now. It's all down to Arteta, really. He's got the resources now, in my opinion. He probably needs a striker in the summer. Missing out on Vlahovic was a very big miss for Arsenal, in my opinion. I think you'd have got him. I think you'd be in the top 4 this season, personally, because you are struggling for goals right now, being too heavily reliant on the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, the Martinellis and the Odegaards, with Lacazette not really being able to find the net at the moment. But yeah, I think it's a very exciting time to be an Arsenal fan. And if we let's just go back to the transfers that are just on the screen down below. So obviously you got Chambers, like I've mentioned, has gone to Villa. Robin Olsen has also joined the Villa on loan. Kasper Kukolski has joined Brighton for a fee of £8 million from Poland. Nathan Patterson has joined Everton. Vitaly Mialenko has also joined Everton. Chicharito or Chiquininho has joined Wolves. Hwang Hee-chan has also joined Wolves, but I believe that is only active in the summer. So, look, a lot of transfers have happened in January in the Premier League. Obviously, Diallo being in the Scottish League, the only one that's not in the Premier League here, but Chris Wood as well. Chris Wood to Newcastle is another big transfer, and one I've got to admit I was very confused about. I was very, very confused about the fee, but Newcastle have an unlimited budget at this point. So signing an opposition's number 9, who you're in a who you're in a relegation scrap with, it's a really clever bit of business from Newcastle. More the psychological impact, I think, rather than the actual player. I think this is a massive psychological edge for Newcastle. It really is. Because essentially they're saying, we can take one of your key strikers and you can't do anything about it. So, yeah, Chris Wood, a very weird signing. But at the same time, what a clever bit of business from Newcastle, especially if they stay up. But we are going to talk about this one again, okay? Will Roy Hodgson keep Watford in the Premier League? Now, it is a big topic of discussion. I'm going to talk about 2 clubs mainly in the next 10-15 minutes. Everton and Watford. Now, whether you like it or not, the regime at Watford is what it is. They sack a lot of managers. They don't give managers time. They are a very reactive board. When they see that results aren't going well on the pitch, they do not hesitate to get rid of them, to get rid of the man in charge. Okay? They appointed Claudio Ranieri, who had a total of 12 games in charge at Watford Football Club. Was Ranieri a good appointment? I don't think so. I question the appointment massively. I remember being on the way to Plymouth Argyle versus Bolton. I've been to a lot of Argyle games this season, which will please Braden because of my job and my work. But Plymouth Argyle, I was going there and I saw that Watford had sacked their manager. Now, bear in mind, Watford weren't doing bad at the time. They were doing pretty much what everyone expected them to, just above the drop zone, but playing some decent football. They sack Xisco Munoz. And they bring in Claudio Ranieri, who last time he was in the Premier League, he got sacked from Leicester, who were in freefall and were really struggling to stay in the Premier League at that point. And Craig Shakespeare had to steady the ship until they then brought in their next manager. So Was Ranieri a good? I could not understand the Ranieri appointment. I really couldn't. I didn't think it was a fit at all. And 12 games later, they've had to sack him. This is Watford's third manager this season, which is just bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. But the regime continues. But is Roy Hodgson the man? Now, one thing that Roy Hodgson will do is he will give stability. He will give stability to Watford. He will make them hard to break down. His system is very rigid in that they are going to be very structured. They're going to be very difficult to beat. However, Roy Hodgson needs to get the best out of these attacking players. I know they've had Sarr out, but he needs to get the best out of these attacking players. Josh King hasn't been good enough this season. You know, Dennis has popped up here and there. His productivity is getting better, but again, his discipline, it's poor discipline. Sent off in the last game against Norwich. I watched that game against Norwich. Watford were absolutely woeful. Arguably the worst Premier League performance I've seen this season from a side. They were terrible. It was embarrassing how bad they were. But one thing Roy Hodgson will do is he will stabilise that team. But is it going to be enough? Is their attack going to be enough? Is it going to produce enough goals to keep Watford in the Premier League? Is Josh King? Is Dennis? Are these players going to... Is Sarr when he gets back? Are they going to get enough goals to keep Watford in the Premier League? Now, we move on to another one. Another club that seemed to be in a very difficult situation. Now, their manager situation seems to be becoming more clearer in the past 24 hours, as reported by Fabrizio Romano, who says that Frank Lampard is the leading candidate and could be announced in the upcoming days. But what is happening at Everton? What's happening at Everton Football Club? Because they are massively struggling this season. I went to Villa Everton, as I've mentioned earlier on, at the start of this season. And Everton, honestly, under Rafa Benitez, looked like a really good side for 60 minutes. So well organised. Villa, I was just watching it. The areas that Everton were forcing Villa into was genius. Absolutely genius. They had 4 or 5 really good chances. And on another day, they could have been 2-0 up. But the demise in the last 30 minutes of that game, they fell apart. They quite simply fell apart. It was so poor, so poor from an Everton point of view. You know, we scored 3 goals in 15 minutes, and that was Everton done. But to start to think about how they started the season and the position they are in now, they are in absolute freefall. And Villa were their last opponents. And I'll admit, Everton under Big Duncan Ferguson, they did a lot better. They were a lot more direct. They were exactly what we expected a Duncan Ferguson team to be. They were direct. They moved the ball quickly. They were a lot more impressive and looked a lot more threatening going forward. Yes, they didn't score, but they looked a lot better. I don't know what happened with Rafa Benitez. What did happen? You know, the results were appalling, and the performances were appalling as well. It was the most unlike Rafa team ever. They were so easy to beat. Usually Rafa teams are really hard to break down, but they became so easy to beat. Look, a lot of people were confused why Rafa Benitez even went to Everton in the first place. The 2 Scousers that I spoke to outside the ground at Villa Everton said, as soon as the results start going bad for Rafa, he'll be out of the door really quickly. And he was spot on. I don't think they ever bought into the appointment at all. And this is the problem with clubs like Everton, is their owners didn't listen to the fans. You have to listen to the fans and what the fans want at some point. Everton has been so poorly run from the top to the bottom for so long. I mean, we could be here all year talking about their recruitment. You know, Alex Iwobi for an extortionate amount of money. You know, he's just he's just an example of the players that they have spent so much money on, and yet, you know, players like Theo Walcott that they've ended up selling straight away. Iwobi can't even get a game anymore. Buying players like Rondon, yes, Rafa bought him in because he's Rafa's player, but what was Rondon going to do in the Premier League? You know, Decore hasn't been great. Allen hasn't really been great. Godfrey's probably been the only one that's worked out to a certain extent. You know, when they're bringing in kids like John Joe Kenny and Anthony Gordon, it really does show how desperate Everton are for anything, any spark at this point to try and propel their season and get them back on track. Obviously, look, they have been very unlucky this season with Dominic Calvert-Lewin being out for so long. You know, look, it was a really unlucky situation with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You know, he got injured. He was their main source of goals along with Richarlison, but Richarlison hasn't stepped up this season. I do think Damari Gray from Bayern Leverkusen is arguably one of the best signings that was made in the summer. For, you know, bargain wise for 1.5 million, he's been really, really good for Everton. But even he in the last couple of weeks has stopped contributing in terms of goals and assists. So what is happening at Everton? What is to blame? Is it the recruitment? Is it the lack of structure at the club? Is it the owners? Is the lack of structure and recruitment down to the owners? You know, I look at Villa and the way that my club is now run. We were an Everton, essentially, 5-6 years ago. We were a shambles of a football club. We had no ideology. We had no structure. We had no head of recruitment, as far as I was aware. We had no idea how to run a football club at the top. It was being absolutely run into the ground. But look at our setup now. You know, we've got Johan Langer, who's responsible for scouting and the transfers. We've got, you know, CEO in Christian Perslow, who we firmly believe in. We've got owners who are backing our managers and care about what happens on the pitch, which is why they got rid of Dean Smith so quickly. You know, you look at how quickly they offloaded Dean Smith. Look at the position that Villa are in now. Yeah, Villa fans didn't agree with Dean Smith sacking some of them, but look where we are now. We've just brought in Philip Coutinho and Luca Digne. You're not telling me that Dean Smith attracts those type of players. Steven Gerrard has been a revelation since he walked into the door at Aston Villa, and I'm a massive believer in his philosophy. You can already start to see the positives of it, and he's already buying players that fit his philosophy and his ideology. You know, Matty Cash is the perfect right back for him because Matty Cash is an attacking right back anyway. But look at Luca Dean. Luca Dean's an attacking left back, which then allows our holding midfielders to act as the fullbacks when they go up in possession. Villa are assembling a really, really positive side and bringing in Philippe Coutinho and Luca Dean especially are really clever signings by Aston Villa. And I'm very optimistic as a Villa fan. I think it's a really exciting time. Are you excited about your current club? You know, I'm currently loving it being a Villa fan. You know, big win at Everton. Really unlucky not to get points out of Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City under Steven Gerrard. Things are looking good for Aston Villa. But another club, or a few clubs that things are looking good for, are Wolves and Brighton. Now, I got Wolves horribly wrong this season. I thought Wolves wouldn't have a very good season. But Wolves somehow are absolutely smashing it and picking up results left, right and centre. And I have to say, Jose Sarr in goal. Wow. What a goalkeeper. What a goalkeeper they bought from Olympiacos. What a fantastic buy that was to replace a really steady goalkeeper in Rui Patricio. But Wolves have really impressed me this season, and Bruno Lage has got a very, very stern philosophy. And he seems to be implementing it very well, you know, most notably winning at Manchester United. And I think Wolves will finish top 10 this season. And I think they'll be around Villa and Brighton for that 8th to 10th place. I think those three clubs are the three clubs that are going to be fighting it out to try and break into that Europa Conference League that Arsenal and Tottenham are currently occupying, I believe, or I think it's, do you know what? I'm going to check it. It is currently Tottenham who are occupying that Europa Conference place. So I think, look, there's a lot of clubs this season that have really upped their game. You know, Palace are beginning to show signs that under Patrick Vieira, they can be a real force. They've got a lot of young talent that are going to come good in the next few years, and they're assembling a really good squad. You know, so you got the likes of Villa, Brighton, Palace, Wolves that are starting to up the game. They're starting to make the Premier League a lot more competitive. You know, and they're looking all good this season. All three of them to really make a break into the top 10 this season. But I am aware that obviously it's the first stream that we've done for a while, so it isn't going to be a very long stream for tonight. It was mainly just a stream to get us back into things. But I just want to go back to this last question. Again, these last two questions. Who has had the best January transfer window in the Premier League and why? And what is the number one signing of the January transfer window so far? Personally, I think the best signing of the January transfer window has to be Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon to Newcastle. Look, as a Villa fan, I could quite easily have said Lucas Digne or Philippe Coutinho. I've got to say that I think Coutinho is on a par because we've already seen what Coutinho can do for Villa with his goal and assist against Manchester United, which I'm sure Braden will love every minute of me speaking about if he watches this. But look, it has to be Bruno Guimaraes. I can't believe that Newcastle have managed to land this signing. What a phenomenal signing. And it looks as well like Dan Burn is going to be joining Newcastle and potentially 2 or 3 more. So Newcastle are definitely going to be up there for transfer window of the January transfer window, I guess. But look, who has had the best January transfer window? It's got to be Villa, my boys, or Newcastle. I think both clubs have been phenomenal in their business. I think Lucas Digne, Philippe Coutinho, Olsen, and Callum Chambers as well. Callum Chambers, very clever bit of business by Villa. Very low fee, very versatile player, and he's a good squad player to have. Premier League, Champions League, and Europa League experience. So the perfect player really for Villa to be bringing into the squad to build more of a squad in the first place. Because we were looking light at the back. So bringing in a player like that with his pedigree doesn't hurt us at all. Coutinho and Digne are obviously world-class signings, and I'm really excited to see what they do, especially now that Buendia seems to be fitting into Villa very, very well. It looks like a very exciting squad at Aston Villa for sure. And obviously Newcastle, Guimaraes, if they can get Burn through the door, you know, they've had a fantastic transfer window. Trippier, look, it's been a big transfer window for Newcastle, and Chris Wood as well. But do you know what? I'm going to go back to this question about what is the number one signing, and I'm going to throw Luis Diaz in there as well. To beat Spurs in terms of competition to this signing is a really big signing for Liverpool. I personally wanted him to go to Liverpool. I think he will be the perfect understudy to Sadio Mane. You know, Mane is getting older now, of course, and he is aging. So I do think Luis Diaz is the perfect replacement in a couple of years' time to really, really take that position that Mane or Salah have been taking. And he's a very talented player, and I'm sure he won't just be sitting on the bench for Liverpool. That's for sure, because he has definitely got the Champions League pedigree already for Porto at the top level. To do it on a regular basis for Liverpool, yes, he's going to have to adapt to the Premier League very quickly, but he has done it in the Champions League. You know, his goal against Manchester City in the Champions League this season was a phenomenal finish, and a finish that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. But yeah, that is going to just about do us for today's stream. Obviously, look, it's been a bit all over the place. I've spoken about transfers. I've probably mentioned your Premier League club somewhere. But I am going to be back, hopefully, on deadline day with another episode, another stream where hopefully more of you can get in touch and join us on the stream. But to be honest with you, we appreciate your comment as well, Martial Season. Thank you very much. I hope you are well, mate, and thank you for coming back to the channel. Me and Braden massively appreciate it. But hopefully, okay, guys, we will see you very, very soon for another deadline day special. Obviously, just as a little update, I probably should have addressed it at the start, but myself and Braden are very, very busy in the world of football. Braden is currently doing the course that I used to be on at university, which means that his time and his scheduling, he really does struggle to get on and do these shows, which is a completely understandable factor. And we have to take that into consideration, that we are doing this in our spare time. But we love doing it. And I'm certain that Braden will be itching to get back on here at some point and get back on the shows and get back on the channel. I am hopefully going to try and release more regular content for this channel. I currently have COVID, which is why I can release content for you guys, but I can assure you that we are going to aim for a stream a week. I'm going to commit to it, and we are going to get one stream out per week where we talk about the Premier League and everything else related to football, week by week. So you are getting regular content again from the SNS boys. Okay. But like I said, just a little short stream today, only 40 minutes, which is, let's be honest here, it is a little bit longer than I probably anticipated, but I have thoroughly enjoyed being back on the channel. Remember, who has been the best January transfer window signing and why? Who has had the best January transfer window, and how do you think your club is going to do in the second half of this season? Are my Villa boys going to make a push and get into Europe under Stevie G? Are Man United, Braden's team, going to keep their place in that top four with or without Mason Greenwood? Who's going to get relegated? Who's going to get relegated? In my opinion, I think it's going to be Watford, Burnley, and Norwich potentially. I think as a three, I think all three of them could go down. But I definitely think Leeds United are up for the drop because their results have not been great this season. I do think Newcastle will survive. And who's going to finish in that top four? Who's going to win the Premier League? Are City just going to run away with it like they have in 5 of the last 6 times that they've won it? Or are Liverpool going to pip them and prove everyone wrong and go against all odds and win the Premier League? Are Man United going to make that top 4 place, as I've said? Are Arsenal or West Ham going to sneak in there and get a European trip next season in the Champions League? But guys, it has been a pleasure being back on the channel. Hopefully next time, like I said, we can have loads more of you join us. And we appreciate any of you that have joined throughout the stream tonight and interacted with me. But I wish everyone a happy new year. And I hope your club has a fantastic 2022. I sure hope. I keep pointing to the Kappa badge. I sure hope that my club have a fantastic 2022, and I think they will, but I hope yours does too. We really appreciate everyone giving support to the channel, and we'd just like to say that obviously, regular content hopefully is going to be coming your way very, very soon. If you've enjoyed it, drop it a like, drop a comment down below as well of the best signing, who's had the best transfer window. We're going to be back for deadline day. Hopefully, I'm going to try and get someone on. I'm going to try and get someone to be with me, okay, so we can talk and we can have someone else's viewpoint of transfers, etc. But we hope you enjoyed the video. Drop it a like, drop us a sub, drop a comment, and we will see you guys on deadline day. Take care.